Law enforcement's investigative missteps could mean that the real killers were overlooked. South Carolina's investigators, SLED, were criticized for tunnel vision on Alex and failures in evidence handling that potentially obscured the truth. For example, police waited 3 months to search Alex's parents' property, even though Alex went right there on the night of the murders, a delay in which any hidden weapons could have been moved or destroyed. The state also pursued shaky forensic theories like the debunked shirt blood spatter evidence and may have misinterpreted key statements. In one recorded interview, Alex appeared to say either, "I did him so bad," or "they did him so bad." Investigators insisted he said, "I did him so bad," treating it as a confession of guilt, but others heard, "They did him so bad," which would actually indicate Alex was lamenting what unknown perpetrators did to Paul. The defense highlighted this ambiguity to suggest that officers jumped to conclusions rather than follow leads pointing to other culprits. Additionally, there were no signs of defensive wounds on the victims and no incriminating fingerprints, footprints, or shoe prints at the scene tying Alex to the crime, details that some say were too readily explained away by authorities. Collectively, these gaps and errors in the investigation have been used to argue that reasonable doubt remains and that someone else, although never identified or charged, could have been responsible for the murders.
All right, so the first one is there were no defensive wounds. Why not? Because they knew who the shooter was. They wouldn't think they would have to be defensive against their husband and their dad, number one. All right, number two, you talked about the shaky forensic analysis of the shirt. I don't know exactly what they came out with and then what they retracted, but here's the thing. So sometimes when there is a forensic analysis of any type of biological material, it may not meet the standard where they can say, yes, this is a definitive match or not. It may have certain characters or markers, they call it, that match, but it may not rise to a high enough level to say it is an exact match or it is confirmed. And so we don't know exactly if that was the case. It just didn't have high enough markers, or they looked at it completely differently. But it seems to me that's a huge, huge difference. It's not just saying there were 4 spots and it turned out there were 10. They're saying we thought it was full of spatter and now we don't think there's anything. I mean, that seems like a really big red flag to me. And I know conspiracy theorists would say, well, yeah, that's a red flag because they jump to conclusions. But generally, you may get a preliminary report from a lab that says, yes, like in the state of Michigan, we'd get it from the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, and it would say, yes, there is biological fluid on this of some sort. They try to narrow it down a little bit, and they say now it's suitable for comparison at the DNA level. So did we get an initial report in this case that said there was something, and then when it went on, it just wasn't confirmed, and somehow that got spun into the fact of it was never there in the first place? We don't know. I mean, when you think about it, and we've talked about it a lot, I would be remiss if I didn't point it out, that the media and stories will spin the piece they want to spin and not tell you the whole story.